Welcome back to the second segment of the Newspaper Review on High Impact Television, and we're being joined by our guest this morning, Mr. Akinola. Good morning, Mr. Akinola.
Good morning. My pleasure to be here once again.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm glad to have you here. All right, let's begin with the Kano verdict. Yes, the Tribunal Court has sacked the incumbent governor, that's Abia Kabir Yusuf, and installed the APC presidential candidate, that's Gawuna, as the rightful governor of the state, even though the NNPP and, of course, Kabir Yusuf have also said they will head to the Supreme Court. So let's get your reaction about the outcome of this verdict.
I think the verdict came as no surprise. I don't think it came as a surprise to anyone. It is just the first step in a process that is going to take about these 3 steps. So the tribunal has delivered its judgment. I believe that whoever is not happy with the judgment will head to the appeal court. And then whoever is not happy with whatever the appeal court decides will head to the Supreme Court, which will eventually have the final say in this matter. But I want us to look at what made the appeal court sack the incumbent, the tribunal remove the incumbent. Okay?
Yes.
So, because another case is coming up in Abia State.
Okay.
That is the challenge to the governorship candidacy, the current governor, Governor Alex Oti.
Yes.
And that judgment will be delivered on October 6th. So, based on this kind of, you will recall that it was a Kano High Court that actually first delivered the judgment, even before this tribunal started, that nullified the candidacy of a lot of Labour Party candidates.
Yes.
So we are having a situation where everything is coming to a head now. The Governor Yusuf was not a member of NNPP as of the time the election was conducted. The tribunal said. So it was one of the prayers of the APC that the membership register of NNPP that was submitted to INEC did not contain the name of the governorship flag bearer for Kano NNPP. So based on that ground alone, even if NNPP had rightly won the election, you understand, the governor could still have been sacked because that was a contravention of the Section 77 of the Electoral Act. Okay. You understand?
Yes.
And then we have a situation where the court also decided that there was overvoting. And that was why the about 160,000 ballots were actually not stamped. That it was because of overvoting. So I am not a lawyer, but looking at this judgment, it seems the tribunal has come to what it determined to be the best situation. What we now await is the response of the NNPP. Of course, they've decided that they will go to court. They will go to court to challenge it. So the governor will go to court, will go to the appeal court, and then the appeal court will take it from there to determine whether we have a Supreme Court judgment or not. I believe this case will get to the Supreme Court, which we have.
All right. Still on that, you said that the court, one of the verdicts was that Abia Kabir Yusuf was not a member of the party as at the time of the election. So my question now is, was INEC not conversant with all this, things that were happening? Because part of the verdict was also some of the ballot papers were unsigned. So my question also is, didn't they see all this? Didn't they? What's your reaction to this? We're looking at INEC right now. How would you score INEC in all of this now, as all these verdicts are coming out?
INEC has a budget of 350 billion or thereabout. Or is it 250 billion, if I'm not mistaken? INEC has hundreds of billions of naira to work with. And based on what we've seen, these 2023 general elections, there have been a lot of gaps. There's been serious gaps. The European Union came out with a report evaluating INEC's performance on the 2023 general elections. And INEC came out, and then the ruling party came out, the APC came out and defended INEC. INEC defended itself. The report was rubbish, so to speak. But we can see the quality of election. The tribunal is already reflecting the tribunals that we've been having, both the presidential election tribunals and the other tribunal set of lawmakers elect, the governor and the governors elect. These tribunals are reflecting the quality of election that INEC has given us, despite its humongous budget. Maybe what we could have had would be a situation where INEC would just simply refuse to list some of these candidates, you understand, on the ballot papers. That INEC would simply say, sorry, you are not qualified. But if INEC had gone, now this is the tricky part. If INEC had gone up with that, even Peter Obi, he may have been struck out. His name may have been removed from the ballot. Because there is also a question of the legitimacy of his candidacy. This affects a lot of candidates in Labour Party. So maybe INEC try to play safe. Like, let us include their name, let us go, and then the votes will be wasted votes by the time we get to. Well, time will tell. I'm not saying this is the case. I'm just trying to look at this.
All right. Thank you very much, Rotimi. Now, before I proceed to the last statement you made, let me take you back to Kano State, where conversation currently is now. In Kano State, it was declared that more than 165,000 votes that accrued to Yusuf Kabir of the NNPP was nullified and deducted from its 1.019 million votes because those papers, the ballot papers, were not signed and endorsed by INEC officials. That is why the State Election Petition Tribunal actually nullified the vote. And if you deduct that one from the 190, from the 1.109, 1,019,602 votes of NNPP, you have 853,939 votes, while the APC candidate will have 890,705 votes. Now, let me take you to this. Some of these cases that were presented to the courts, some of them have ballot papers or result sheets where the result itself were mutilated. I'm not talking about this particular case now. I'm speaking generally. Some cases that were presented by complainants to the courts or to tribunal, some of them have result sheets that were mutilated where you see results cancelled with pen and rewritten with pen. In those cases, will the court admit those ones as worthy evidence to nullify or to recalculate the elections that has been declared or the candidate that have been declared to win on the basis of those elections or those results?
Well, it is. I'm not the chairman of the independent national.
No, I'm talking about the courts now. I'm talking about the courts now. Some of them were presented to the courts. Yes.
Yeah, I understand. I understand your question.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not INEC chairman. Okay, I cannot say, okay, why would INEC do this? Why would I? But then this boils down to scale. Let me try to compare here. For the presidential elections, there were these cases. Do you understand now? Where we saw with our very koro, like Nigerians to say, where you see this result sheet is clearly mutilated, but then nothing has come of it. Now, because of the scale, the governorship election is a smaller scale. Maybe it was easier for the APC to actually gather this evidence. And once you can present this evidence in court, and it is incontrovertible, do you understand? The court will probably have to go with you. The court will probably have to agree with you. That may have been the case here. But for the case of the presidential election, maybe because of the scale of malpractice, and because of the enormous energy and manpower it would require to gather this evidence and bring it to court within 3 weeks, mind you, within 3 weeks. So you may make a claim that this result was rigged, but then you do not have the actual papers to back them up because you are trying to apply to INEC. INEC give me this, INEC give me that. Then you can't get that in 21 days. So I believe that if you can present evidence in court and your lawyer can argue that the evidence is legit, then the court will probably go with you. That remains to be tested in the appeal court and then the Supreme Court.
All right. Okay, thank you very much, Rotimi. Now, let me bring you to that of the presidential elections where the opposition party, the People's Democratic Party presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar somehow secured the courts in Illinois to have access to the academic credentials of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Now, in answering, what's your impression about this, even though the APC has come out to rubbish the advancement that the PDP presidential candidate has made, that it would amount to nothing? What's your impression about it?
I believe that the school has 2 days. The school was given 2 days to release these documents concerning Bola Tinubu. Well, what the APC has said, you don't expect them to say any other thing. They have to defend their man because their candidacy lies on the validity of the government. The power that APC rules over Nigeria right now lies on the validity of the candidacy of Bola Ahmed. Now, whether a Nigerian court will now take evidence from the U.S. court to nullify that candidacy remains to be seen. If Atiku can, from what I understand, you cannot add a new body of evidence by the time you go to the Supreme Court. So maybe Atiku can add this by the time he gets these academic credentials and details about him. Maybe Mr. Atiku and the PDP can add it because they've made that claim in court before that this man lied about his academic credentials. This man does not have the qualifications he claimed to have. So maybe that will hold up in court. We do not know. But I want to remind you that the great Gani Fawehinmi challenged Tinubu on his academic credentials. The great Gani Fawehinmi, blessed him, and he lost. He lost. So the Nigerian court may revert to precedent that was already set in that case and dismiss. I'm not trying to
preempt the
Supreme Court.
Yes,
I'm just saying this could be the case because, time will tell. Time will tell. So
all right.
We don't want to preempt any.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Rotimi Akintola, let's look at the NLC's ultimatum to the federal government as it will take effect tomorrow. And, we do not pray for an indefinite strike. But let's get your reaction about this indefinite strike. Let's get your reaction about their demands. What they want the federal government to do. They have complained that even the palliatives that have been distributed was not enough to cushion the effect of the fuel subsidy removal. They're asking for a minimum wage increase to about 200,000 naira, even though the federal government have said that some of these things are not feasible. They cannot be implemented right now. But let's get your reaction on this whole saga.
Okay, so the palliatives that the government said they are giving to Nigerians, I don't know. It's a joke. It's a joke. You have maybe a family getting 1 Congo. I don't understand. I do not understand. If you try to look at scale now, if you look at the scale of economic hardship in the country, and what the president and the government and the Tinubu government claims to have done to mitigate those hardships, it's a total joke. It's a complete joke. But then, aside from that, I'm sorry to say, nobody takes the NLC seriously in this country. Yes. At this point, nobody takes labor seriously. Okay? There are suspicions that they are working for the Labour Party. Okay? That is besides the way. And the bigger issue is that there have been instances where Nigerians were ready to go with Labour Party. You understand? Like, okay, let us make this demand and do not let us back down until these demands are met. Only for people to wake up the next day and discover that Labour Party, that NLC and let's calm down, give it. So there is always this suspicion between Nigerians of the NLC that they make these demands. They try to capitalize mass hardship to push their own agenda and try to get their own demands from government. And that is where I tell Nigerians to wake up. Nigerians must learn to fight for themselves. I'm sorry, NLC does not speak. I feel this economic hardship, but until Nigerians are ready to say, we don't care about what NLC is doing, we don't care about what whoever is, all these organized groups are doing. This is what we want. Until that time, we are not ready. Nobody takes NLC serious. I will not be surprised if we call up this strike. If we wake up tomorrow and they call it up, nobody will be surprised.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Rotimi Akinola, we do not have much time, and this is where we will end the discussion today. But it's a pleasure, having you joining us today on the newspaper review. Thank you very much.
I wish you the same.
Thank you very much, Rotimi. Yes.
Yes.
Now, about Nigerian Labour Congress, this conversation is always on the front burner.
Yes.
Why is it that Nigerians are not taking NLC seriously? At least,
yes.
NLC is doing the bidding of Nigerians. They are doing the bidding. They are, as it is now, they are the middlemen between the government and the governed.
Just like you said, Nigerians have lost
Trust.
confidence. I remember that particular incident where he said that people were fully ready to follow the NLC. Let's go on a strike. And this revelation or this announcement comes in the middle of the night, in the wee hours of the morning.
The strike has been cancelled.
Has been cancelled. That would break your trust. That would sever any confidence, any trust you have for these people. So I would not blame Nigerians for that. It has happened so many times. I know a lot of people are always saying that, oh, we miss the days of Oshomole, we miss the days of this. But, right about now, coupled with the fact of what is going on in the country, a lot of people are saying, okay, if you say, let's, just like, they say, soldier go, soldier come. That is how the NLC should operate.
Okay, probably there needs to be a town hall meeting between NLC and the people they claim to represent, which is Nigerians, and to ask that burning question and interrogate the reason why all of a sudden the people have lost trust in the Nigerian Labour Congress.
Yes.
And this should involve both NLC, both the private sector and the public sector, because if you are calling for consensus, because you are demanding for things from the government, for the Nigerian workers,
yes,
and the people that you are demanding this for are telling you, we don't care anyways.
Yes.
That means it's a lost battle. So probably NLC should go back to the drawing board, have a meeting with Nigerians and secure that trust again.
Yes.
Because if not, if it continues like this, it's going to get very bad as time proceeds, as time continues, and it may not put the NLC in a very, laudable place.
Yes, and it doesn't really cost much to get the trust of the people. I mean, it didn't take anything for the youth to come out during NSAS. It didn't take anything for the youth to come out right about now and protest about just a celebrity, well, not just a celebrity, but a celebrity who died. There were no calls.
There was no NLC.
There was no NLC. There was no group. There was nothing.
And the mobilization was massive.
Yes.
It's massive,
Yes.
and this is day 2.
Yes.
And there are other protests that is going to take place.
Yes.
So who's coordinating them?
Who's coordinating them? That's something NLC
The
needs to
will
study.
of the people.
The will of the people. If you have it, I mean, you can move mountains. This is where we draw the curtains for the program this morning, the newspaper review on High Impact Television. Don't forget, you can also follow us on all our social media pages at High Impact Studios and High Impact TV. I'm Olumide Shokoya. Enjoy the rest of your day.
And I'm Oyin Priye Kromale. Many thanks for watching.